Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I'm honestly truly excited to welcome our next guest. I wanted to have you on for a while because I remember I even emailed you about this to come on. It is weirdly a full circle moment because we did work together during the pandemic, and you are currently in a production, the production, I will say, the it production to me of the season, which is Ragtime, which I've said to you before we started. And for those who have listened to the podcast for many years, I have manifested this production. I'm not saying I'm the reason it's happening, but I'll take credit for it,
I love it.
especially with like Joshua Henry and Brandon Uranowitz. Like, no big deal. No big deal. But everyone, please welcome Colin Donnell, applause, or as you
Whee!
have it on your social, professional clothes changer.
That's right.
I love that.
It boils it down to exactly what the job feels like some days.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that episode of Friends where they're like Chandler and Monica were doing a Halloween party and Joe's like, "Oh, you had to dress up." And they're like, "Aren't you an actor?"
I look, I understand how he feels about Halloween.
Yeah.
I've never enjoyed some people love it. Some actors and dancers and performers that I know, they take every opportunity at Halloween to really go full out. I'm
Hmm.
like, I put on different clothes every single night, sometimes eight times, 8 times a week. I don't want to dress up again.
Yeah, it's like that thing where you work somewhere and you love the area you work in, and then all of a sudden you work there for a long period of time. You're like, I don't want to that's that place I work.
Correct.
It gets to you. I'm in that right now. So Colin, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's start at the very beginning. You're from St. Louis. So
Hmm.
what got you into performing?
Oh golly, it's it's a fun little story. It's
I'm all ready for it.
it's very high school
Yeah.
musical actually.
Which you did play at the MUNY.
I sure did in
Oh
St.
yeah.
Louis.
Mhm.
The only place where I could play a 18-year-old at the ripe age of 20, I've 27 or something like that. I've looked 35 since I was 18, so it's a stretch any way you look at it. No, I'm from St. Louis. I got into theater. I did like a community theater production of Oliver when I was very little, and then didn't touch it for the longest time. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I broke my ankle playing football.
Mm.
And my high school was doing a production of Barnum my freshman year, and they were looking for circus performers, and I could juggle. And so my mom, bless her heart, was like, "Look, you have to get out of the house. You should do something in the afternoons after school." And I had after breaking my ankle, I tried wrestling for a hot second and then decided that was too hard and athletic. And so I went over and I juggled for the audition. And then the choir director, her name was Karen Flasher. She's since passed. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. She asked me if I sang, and I said no. She said, "Well, can you just do Happy Birthday for me?" And so I sang Happy Birthday for them. And that was literally the beginning of it all. Like she sort of took me under her wing. She brought me into choir. I started doing the plays and the musicals at school, and I was very lucky that I was in, our public school in St. Louis had a very ripe, well-funded, well-developed theater program,
Mhm.
and I just fell in love with it. And it was all because I could juggle and I needed to get out of the house in the afternoons.
I feel like at some point in your life you need to do a stage production where you juggle just to make like really full circle.
I've never had cause to juggle on stage, although I did when they did the revival of Sunday in the Park with George,
Mhm.
that Trevor Nunn was directing.
Mhm.
He is infamous for asking people to do the things that they've listed under their special skills.
Mhm.
And I don't think I've written a resume in quite some time, but I had juggling under my special skills section. And he said, sure enough, I was in the room and he said, I see you juggle. Can you juggle for me right now? I said, yeah, yeah. And there were some oranges sitting on the table. So I grabbed some oranges and juggled for Trevor Nunn. And then he didn't cast me.
Well, I mean, you have a George-esque beard, so I feel like whenever you do a Sunday in the Park production playing George, you'll just like juggle, some paintbrushes.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Done.
that we
That's
figured
that's
out
the
the
next
short
thing you
thing.
have to manifest is me
Yeah.
playing George in the next revival, and I don't know, it
Hey, you
probably
can
needs to
do
wait a few years.
you can do it regionally. Who knows? Maybe the MUNY will do it.
There you go.
We can do it together.
Perfect.
Yeah, we figured it out. There we go. We can, whatever production you want to manifest on this podcast, we can do it. I'm not saying this podcast is like really good at that, but somebody did say they wanted to do Shakespeare in the Park, and then a year later they got cast in it.
I love it.
So just putting it out there. So what made you decide on Indiana University, Bloomington?
Well, there's a couple things. I knew that I wanted to give the main thing was that I knew that I wanted to give myself every opportunity not to go into this career,
Mhm.
frankly.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I didn't want to go to conservatory and be so specifically minded towards that. And the way that Indiana was set up back when I was there, it wasn't a specific musical theater degree. It was something they called it was sort of a choose your own adventure degree. Um, and it was through the College of Arts and Sciences, but you basically got to build your own curriculum to make it a musical theater degree, a BA in musical theater. And so I was able to take classes as long as I could justify it to my advisor. I could take classes in anything I wanted.
Mhm.
And so I did. I took comparative literature and medieval art history and history of rock and roll. And I sort of tried to give myself every opportunity to see if anything would spark my passion as much as theater did.
Mhm.
Turns out it didn't.
Mhm.
So there I was. But I think I was all the better for it because I had this very, in my eyes, a very well rounded education
Mhm.
and a place that allowed me to definitely focus on theater and musical theater, but also just be surrounded by the normal college experience of getting to do what I wanted in the way that I wanted. And there was a lot of freedom in that I think served me well going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the case too, because I've had, a lot of guests on that say, you don't want to just focus on musical theater, you have to broaden your horizons, and that will eventually help you, especially as a performer. If you lived a life and you have all this experience, it only can help you, can only benefit
Yeah,
you.
I think certainly there's a huge value in being able uh to be as well-rounded of an individual as you can. I mean, that means reading the news. That means staying up on whatever TV and film is out there. That means talking to people, reading poetry,
Mhm.
studying weird art or architecture. It's like and traveling.
Yeah.
All those things contribute indirectly and sometimes directly to the craft. It's not just about reading the plays and figuring out what styles work or what techniques work for you. It's about just rounding yourself out as a human being and sort of diving into the human condition in as many ways as you possibly can.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk about your experience at the MUNY because you are from St. Louis, and the MUNY is very beloved by pretty much every single performer who has ever performed there. Growing up, what was your relationship with the MUNY, and what was it like performing there for the first time?
I mean, it is such a special place and it holds such a special place in my heart. When I was a kid, so a little bit of family history. My great four greats, I think,
Mhm.
uh, aunt and uncle. My dad's side of the family goes back in St. Louis quite some ways, and so that great aunt and uncle, they were actually part of the founding St. Louis Society members that funded the Muni in the first place.
Oh, wow.
um Pretty wild. They were,
Yeah.
he was a prominent lawyer in St. Louis, and he helped with a group of people. They helped to get the Muni started. And then my great uncle actually performed there when he was a kid. My mom found this wonderful picture taken backstage, and it was the ensemble, this men and women's ensemble in tuxedos and like flapper gowns from the 1920s, I think it was, backstage looking out into the audience as it was back then. And
Mhm.
there, it was like fields going up the sides of the hill instead of seats. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So, and then my great great aunt and uncle had season tickets from 1947, I think it was, front row Tuesday nights at the MUNY. And when we were kids, so every once in a while, we were lucky enough to get taken to go see a show by one of them, or they would give them to my parents, and our parents would take one of us to go along with them. And I mean, it was amazing. I got to see the one that really sticks out in my mind is um, seeing Bye Bye Birdie with Tommy Tune,
Oh, wow.
and such it was one of those moments where you are looking at the stage and you're watching this person who's all legs and arms and amazing, like, just you don't have a word for it when you're that old, but this kineticism, this like just amazing vibe coming at you, that I think that was the moment that I said, oh, I kind of want to do that.
Yeah.
And then after high school, they had local auditions. I was never a part of the MUNY Teens or MUNY Kids, which is an amazing program that they do to get kids from the community involved. But after high school, I auditioned for the adult ensemble, and that's how I got my equity card when I was 18. And it was such an amazing training ground for me.
Mhm.
Um, because there were so many people, working professionals from Broadway and the New York theater scene, that were coming out every single summer to do shows. I remember, I think one of the last summers that I was there after my senior year of college, like I worked with Francis Jew. I shared a dressing room with Francis Jew doing Mame, and it was amazing. Like that was, but those were the kind of people that I was getting to hang out with and work together. I worked with Andrea Burns and Mike McGraw, who, God, um, and I mean, it was the list. If I were to go back and look at all the playbills from when I was there, I think I've done like 18 or 19 shows there at this point. Um, it was just an amazing place to sort of cut my teeth and figure out like how things work and watch real professionals doing their work in this really special place and getting to just learn on the fly.
Yeah. So let's talk about what was it like making your Broadway debut in Jersey Boys? I know we're like jumping, but I want to get
Yeah,
into
no.
your current Broadway show shortly.
I mean, it was amazing. It was such a cool show to be a part of. I think I was the second person to come in as a new hire to the show. Um, and I just loved it. It was most of the original cast when I was still there. They were fantastic. It was this thing of like, all right, I've done this. I've made it to Broadway,
Mhm.
and I realized that you know it is such a special place, and it's also just another theater in New York.
Mhm.
And it was in. I don't say that in a um disparaging way. It was just like, oh, I just love doing theater. I
Yeah.
love working no matter what theater it is. But
Mhm.
there is something special about walking into the stage door of a Broadway theater every night that I was like, oh, I want to do this for a long time, I think.
Do you have a favorite Broadway theater?
Oh, golly. I
Doesn't even have
mean,
to be one that you performed in. It's just in general. I mean, you're actually performing currently in my favorite Broadway theater, the Vivian Beaumont. Um, but that's my own personal favorite. But
I
what's
mean
your
the Beaumont is a very special place because for as large as the stage is, I
Mhm.
think it the way that the theater is set up as an audience member, it's such an intimate viewing experience
Yeah.
that it feels almost like you're playing in a little black box theater because as a performer, you're able to give this very nuanced performance, and you can give a very intimate performance without having to shout to the back of the house, because even the last row of the loge seating there feels like you're right there. So it's awesome. I mean, all of them are incredible in their own ways. Like all the history, especially some of the older ones on 45th and 44th. And I mean, getting to watch Frozen multiple times at the St. James, like I love that house.
Yeah.
Being at the Golden Theater for Shark is Broken was awesome. It was just a whole different experience, tiny little space and a great audience out there. It's yeah, they all have their little intricacies that make them special and challenging and fun in their own way.
When I saw Shark is Broken, it was during the actor strike, and I was sitting next to a lawyer who worked for Sony. So that was a very interesting conversation just before the show started. And then the
Amazing.
show started, so we couldn't complete our conversation.
That's too bad. I'm sure he was having a very interesting time.
I was like, oh, and he's like, well, I was like, I'm team actor. Like, you can't, like, I'm a theater nerd. I like do merch at shows. Like, you can't, I have a podcast. You can't intimidate me with like lawyering, whatever you're saying. But I was very like, okay, well, agree to disagree. Anyway, but with that being said, how was your experience with Anything Goes? Because that was like Sutton Foster, Joel Grey, kind of a lead role on Broadway, or like
Yeah.
the romantic lead.
Yeah. I mean, it was incredible. It was, the first time opening a show on Broadway. I got to experience all of those, like all of the amazing traditions that go along with that.
Mhm.
Um, and, doing something that was sort of, I don't even know if I realized it, but that like classic musical theater is so ingrained in my soul
Yeah.
from the way that I grew up and the way that I was introduced to musical theater.
Mhm.
I love Cole Porter. I love Rodgers and Hammerstein. I love Rodgers and Hart. I love it's like all of that stuff is it's so beloved to me.
Mhm.
And then to get to be performing alongside Sutton, who obviously is such a powerhouse and such a wonderful, warm person that I loved being on stage with her. And then Joel Grey, who like, I
Yeah.
mean, you hang the moon on his head. Like
Mhm.
the man is so smart and so charismatic
Mhm.
that it was like a master class of the little things that you can do to pull an audience in and get them on your side. And I don't in such a impish, wonderful, like devious way that is so charming and delightful that you're like, I love you so much.
Very,
I
very
mean,
Joel Grey. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's such a legend, and I learned so much from him. And being able to repeat the experience with Sutton a few years later was amazing. It was just, and that show, Kathleen Marshall, who directed and choreographed it, she pushed me in such a extraordinary way with the dancing and the comedy, and she really encouraged me to just follow my instincts and stretch myself to be that romantic leading man in a song and dance show. And it was great. I was like, I can do this, I think.
Yeah. It was, well, I will say it was a much better production than my middle school production of Anything Goes, where I was reporter number one and a featured ensemble member because of my fifth grade work as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. So there we go. You just have like so many credits I want to talk to you about before we get to Ragtime because I'm slightly obsessed with some of them. I love to talk to you because you spoke a little bit about working on with Sutton and Violet. We mentioned Shark is Broken really quickly, but I just want to get into Ragtime as soon as we can because I'm
Yeah.
slightly obsessed with the show. But I would be remiss if we don't talk about Love's Labor's Lost in Shakespeare in the Park.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I look around our house, we call it the summer of magic. So many things came out of that. It was the first and foremost being the fact that like Patty Murin and I got together. It
Mhm.
was that summer of discovering what we might be and ended up being. And now we have two kids and two dogs and we live out of the city. And uh but it was just amazing. Like I think there's certain places in New York that as an actor, you're wanting to check off the box of performing there.
Mhm.
Um, and at the top of my list was certainly Shakespeare in the Park. And I didn't really have an in to that
Yeah,
place, uh, were it not for Alex Timbers and Michael Friedman.
yeah,
Um, and we had workshopped Love's Labor's Lost for quite some time. And they had always tapped me to play Barone. And I was so grateful to them for that. But I was also doing my first TV show at the time. And so I didn't think, because of the way that the schedule was landing, I didn't think that I was going to be able to be a part of that production. Um, and then I was up in Vancouver shooting Arrow, and the producers came and told me that they were going to kill my character off. And I walked out of the meeting sort of heartbroken,
mhm,
but I made two phone calls. I called my agent, and she said, "It's okay. Things are going to be fine." And then while I was on the phone with her, I said, "Hey, do you think they've recast Love's Labor's Lost yet?"
mhm,
She's like, "I don't know. I'm going to get into it right now. I'll call." And as soon as I hung up with her, I called Alex Timbers and I led my case. I said, "Hey, this is what's happening. I don't know if it's too late. I don't know if you've already been looking, but I would, if the role is still available, I'd love to be a part of it." And I was very lucky that they hadn't moved on yet, and I got to be a part of it, and all the good things happened from it. I got to perform at Shakespeare in the Park. I met my future wife, or re-met my future wife again. Um, and I got to. There were so many special people in that show who have remained friends all these years later, and I'm so grateful, especially in hindsight, to have been able to work with Michael Friedman
yeah,
in such an intimate way, and for him to write songs for me was is something that I am deeply, deeply grateful for, because he was such a brilliant mind, gone far too soon.
yeah,
Um, but I'm so happy that we have those recordings of our show and of all of his stuff, but especially our show,
yeah.
because I'm glad to have that concrete memory to look back on and listen to, and be reminded of that time that we had together.
Yeah, I love when they just randomly decide to do a musical at Shakespeare in the Park of a Shakespeare production. It's always just, I don't want to say it's random, but it's always just like a fun idea to do it. And I unfortunately didn't get to see it because I don't camp out and I never on the laundry for it. But I do have a special place in my heart for Love's Labor's Lost because the Shakespeare's Globe toured it in North America. And like after I graduated college, I ushered at a theater at my school and they brought the tour there. So I got to see that production a bunch of times and like meet the cast. And it was just a really fun experience. So I do have a very special place in my heart for that show. And I think you
Yeah,
were cast very well in that part, if I
thank
say
you.
so myself. But yeah, and it lives on in the recording, which is great. And I always love talking to people about Shakespeare in the Park because to me it's such like a romantic, magical idea to perform at the Delacorte Theater. So I'm happy we got to chat about it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I also really would love to talk about the production of Merrily We Roll Along that you did at City Center.
yeah.
What was that experience like?
Oh, it was amazing.
Because that was a great cast too.
Yes.
Julia and Lynn.
Yeah, Celia Keen Bolger, Lin Manuel, Betsy Wolfe, Elizabeth Stanley. I mean, the list kind of goes on. It was a spectacular group of people. I mean, I will say every time I do a city center production, I think this is now. I think Ragtime was my sixth now. Um,
I have
it
four
was.
down, but I'm sure it was more.
Oh, we'll count them up at some point.
Yeah.
But it's this mad dash experience. And for any listener who doesn't know how City Center works and the Encore series works, it's you rehearse something for 11 days, 12
Yeah.
days, maybe. And you throw up an entirely staged, beautiful thing in that amount of time, which is just bonkers. It's it's the craziness of summer stock at the highest stakes, you know, theater experience in New York,
I
where
thought you were about to
everybody's going to come
say,
and see you.
sorry, I thought you were about to say you throw up and then you do this.
Oh, no, I'm not a nervous
Yeah,
vomiter,
yeah,
luckily.
that's good.
Um, but it is such like it's such a wild thing of like, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna start staging, and then 4 days later, you're gonna run the entire show for the designers, and then you're gonna have an audience of 2,500 people sitting out there watching you do it.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but it
people
was
who want to
fantastic.
be there and who are excited about it
Exactly.
because whenever they announce, they're just people who are so. I love encores because the people who are there want to be there because of the casting, because of the productions that they do there. And that's what's so exciting about it.
Yeah. Everybody wants to listen to those scores sung by, a huge, massive orchestra.
Yeah.
And and we were very lucky when we were doing Merrily's, Sondheim was still around. And
Yeah.
so we got to be in the room with him. And it was I still remember the sitz probe, I think was one of my favorite moments. Because I learned to play part of the I learned to play the part that I needed to on piano for the show.
Mhm.
Uh and so we went to the sitz probe, and it got to that part, and I went to the piano, and I'm, in a room with James
Sondheim.
Lapine and Stephen Sondheim and Tunick, Jonathan Tunick. I'm playing, I'm hacking away at the piano. And we stopped after my little solo part so we could then move to the microphone and I could continue on. And Stephen goes, "Well, how did that feel?" And I said, "I kind of want to pee my pants a little bit." First thing that came out of my mouth. And he goes, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
That's excellent. That's amazing. What a memory to have. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And especially to, I mean, throw up a production, not actually throw up, but especially a Sondheim musical in that short period of time.
Yeah. And it was my second because the first one that I did was Follies, playing
Yeah.
a young Victor
Winter.
Garber.
Yeah.
And I remember all of my favorite memories come from the sitz probe, I guess. And I remember asking Victor while we were at the sitz probe, I said, you've done a bunch of Stevens
Mhm.
stuff. Like, does it get any easier? And he's like, absolutely not. He's like, I hate this every single time.
But it's worth it. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would love to talk about really quickly how you and I worked together during the pandemic.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm not gonna, I was really excited. I fell into my refrigerator because I was like jumping around in my kitchen. But you and I did a production of The Mercy Seat by Neil Abute. I just want to know what you think your character does at the end of the play. That's my only question.
Gosh. Well, one, you're asking me to think back to 4 years ago,
That's true.
and I have
Your
two
refresher.
kids
That's
under the age of 5.
yeah. Maybe I shouldn't ask that. Well, my favorite, I took a screenshot of it and I remember it to this day because it was the funniest thing my friend texted me during the reading, where she's like, "Oh my God, please tell me he gets in touch with his family. He cannot be that much of a monster."
And look, I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think, and I tend to play a lot of questionable characters.
Mhm. And you also play a lot of characters who die. So I don't know
Often
about, yeah,
people like to see me die, I guess.
that's sad. That's
Um, but I think that, everybody's the hero of their own story, right? But
Mhm.
I think, I mean, it would be a question for, I think the ambiguity of something like that is always the most fun.
Yeah.
And I never like to answer the question,
Okay. So we move
which is
on.
a nice way of avoiding it. But
Just
I
to be
think
also like, I don't remember. That's fair.
maybe
That's
a little bit of that too.
honestly, that's fair. I just mostly wanted to bring it up because of what my friend messaged me. Because again, to this day, it's still one of the funniest things anybody messaged me during a reading that we did. Yeah, she's like, he cannot be that much of a monster. But I think that's what's so great about the play too, is like it's left, you know, ambiguous and it's up to the audience to decide what happens. And that's sometimes some of the best work in
Yeah.
movies,
things
but
that leave you wondering are always. I remember I did a production of it was one of Edward Albee's last plays. I did the world premiere down at the McCarter Theater, and it was an interesting play. It was called Me, Myself, and I, and it was an amazing cast. Ryan Murray, Tyne Daly, Michael Esper, Charlotte Perry, and I all were in the show. And it was a bit of a divisive play, like people wondering what was going on, but people were talking about it after they went. And there were
yeah,
so many questions, and love it or hate it, people were talking about it and having discussions about what it all meant and the way that it was presented. And it was that, to me, was my first taste of like, oh, people don't just have to like it. They
yeah,
want to, you want people to just talk about it. You want it to be on their minds and stick somewhere in their brains, that they're like, what did I just see, in a
yeah,
good way?
yeah,
Not, yeah.
yeah. So let's talk now about Ragtime. The moment
Yes.
in time I'm truly like so excited to be talking about this. And I know I keep saying like I can, this production because it has been my dream for so long. Because if anybody was like, what show do you want to be revived on Broadway? It's like it's Ragtime at Lincoln Center with these cast members. And to be honest, you were not on my bingo card for Father, and I'm so thrilled that you are in the production because you were so good in the part. And I sometimes do merchandise there, and I was actually there the other day and I was listening to you. And you have such a richness in your singing voice, and your vocally have only gotten better over the years. And it works so well with this show, and you are so good in this show. And I sometimes ask certain people who have worked, like who are also doing merch or what have you, who know who an actor is, like, oh, well, would you have a question? And I'm so mad that this person came up with this question because I think it's so good that I had to pull it up. It was
Mm-hmm.
something on so my coworker Max asked, part of the play works best when the audience dislikes your character. How do you prepare for the role that you know has to be seen unlikable?
um well, I mean, it sort of goes back to what we were talking about before. Like, I've never come to Father as someone who's intentionally unlikable.
Yeah.
Um, and but I think that there is, it's a like, in my mind, it's a tough role because there's a moment at the end, certainly, where there is um a bit of redemption. But,
Mhm.
by all accounts, he is racist and misogynistic, but within all that, he is certainly a man of the time. He's a white man of the time.
Yeah.
Um, and the way that I have always viewed him is that he is essentially afraid.
Mhm.
He's uh he has disappeared and removed himself from his life, and when he's come back, everybody else is moving at light speed away from where they were. Um, if not physically, but certainly emotionally and socially. They're all moving forward at a pace that he cannot fathom keeping up with. So and he is a representation not only of that time, but certainly the world that we're living in. There's a lot of fathers out there who, the world is moving on and they are stuck in their thinking and in their place in society. Um, and the satisfaction that I take from playing something like that is in basically teeing up the people around me to do the work that they need to do or want to deliver. Um, you know, Case in point, I think, look, Casey Levy's singing Back to Before is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. She is so wonderful and her voice is so amazing and she's a brilliant actor. If I can help bump it up or set her up in a way with the argument that precedes it
Yeah.
that helps it land even 0.5% more for an audience, that they're even more on her side and or receive the message that she's about to deliver in a bigger way, then my job has been done. And
Yeah.
it's great. No matter what an audience thinks of me, like even if they aren't thinking of me,
Mhm.
they've been set up in a way that they are able to receive what they're about to get more deeply and more in a more visceral way.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's does it drain me? Yeah, a little bit, but there's a lot to for me. There's a lot of satisfaction for me to take away in knowing that um, I've served a hopefully very essential purpose to the overall storytelling of the play.
Yeah. And I do agree with everything you said about your character. And I think that's what father is. He's kind of stuck in, that's also true of the baseball scene. He's
Mhm.
like, oh, it's a great game and this is what it's like. And then he's surrounded by all these people and it's just shows how it's changed the people watching the game. And he's, in his tux, his New Rochelle outfit with his son. And yeah, so I think that helps with the father background. But I'm
Yeah,
kind of go all over the place a little bit because I'm
yeah,
just so
please.
nerdy about the show. I saw the production first night of previews.
Hmm.
I renewed my membership to Lincoln Center Theater just to get a ticket, and I somehow magically got front row center orchestra for
Wow.
yeah. And I had a tissue in hand the entire time, cried multiple times, not afraid to admit it. And I said to myself, if this is what it's like first night of previews, I can only imagine what it's going to be like opening night. And this is so random, but I loved the use of the Statue of Liberty in the show. It was so beautiful. And I was really curious to see what changes, set wise, costume wise, performance wise, what was going to be done from this City Center production to the Broadway production. So, can you talk a little bit about what it was like moving that show to Broadway?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly got a bit of a glow up, which
Yeah.
is amazing. The city center productions are always done on a budget for
Mhm.
city center,
Yeah.
keeping in mind that it's 12 days of rehearsal and 2 weeks of performances.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think one of the things that, uh, speaking of theaters again,
Mhm.
it's Lincoln Center is the Vivian Beaumont is such a unique space because it's in a thrust, it's in a three-quarter thrust, so it places us all that much closer to an audience.
Yeah.
Um, and you were saying like if this is what it's like on the first previews, I think all of us on stage, we all sort of work in the same way.
Mhm.
And any show that gets lived in
Mhm.
is always going to feel deeper. It's always going to grow over time. But I think especially with this group of people, Casey and Josh and Ben and Shayna and Michelle and Brandon and everybody who's up there, every single ensemble member, they're doing such great work and they came in with
Yeah.
such fully formed ideas,
Mhm.
but they're never satisfied,
Yeah.
which is the best because everybody is working every single performance to figure something out and they're not afraid to try it and
Yeah.
they're not afraid to make different choices about moments, which keeps it alive for us. But also, sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. But that's the beauty of theater is that it's it's only for that moment. And then it disappears and they can go back to something or they can try something new the next night. And all of us have this collective idea. I think it was all unspoken, but like, yeah, we had great initial instincts.
Mhm.
Let's continue to work on them. Let's try things every night. And uh, we did our cast recording this past week, which was an amazing experience. And Lynn Ahrens came up to me and she's like, I just love what you all are doing. And she's like, I think you even have found new stuff since opening night. And, that's a week and a half in from opening night. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, the work's never done.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to be simpatico with a group of people who all have this mindset of exploration and continued work and the idea that nothing's ever complete or really set. We have our show, certainly,
Yeah.
but like the more that we can explore the possibilities to deepen that story, all the better for an audience. So somebody who saw it on opening night or first preview is going to come back tomorrow and see the same show, sure,
Yeah.
but it's going to feel different and it's going to feel deeper, probably.
That's why, sorry, I'm just like geeking out internally so hard about what you just said because I love that so much. And, sometimes when you see a show a lot of times and then you go back and you're like, oh, this feels different. It feels a little, I don't know, something and you can't put your finger on it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Sorry, I just like nerded out so hard. Like really with you saying that. It's like, it's so good. So, I mentioned to you before we started, I don't really talk politics on the podcast, but because of the world in which we live in right now,
Mm-hmm.
I saw Ragtime at City Center right after the election. I'm curious what it was like for you and or the rest of the cast to perform whatever anybody's political beliefs are. It's not my place to ask.
Yeah.
And what is it like now, almost a year later, performing Ragtime on
Yeah.
Broadway?
So, you know, our initial run at City Center straddled the national election.
Mhm.
And it was an amazingly powerful piece in the week before.
Yeah.
And there was a certain vibe in the audience and in the theater every single night. And then when we came back to it the second week, there was a palpable sense of need from the audience. There was, uh, and it all boils down to me for the power of, for the place that art holds in the society at large, certainly.
Mhm.
Um, and a way, and the way that art helps us calibrate our feelings and helps us make sense of whatever is happening around us.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was incredibly powerful that second week. And I don't think that I've ever been a part of a show that people like needed as much as they did ours. And so when we talked about, when it was being discussed to come back and come to Broadway and be at the link and be at the Vivian Beaumont at Lincoln Center, certainly I didn't imagine having that same feeling again. And I never in my wildest dreams thought that audiences would maybe even need it more than they did. Um, but that's where we are. And I think that the people that are coming to see the show certainly are absorbing the heart of this story, which is in my head, I won't speak for anybody else, but it holds a mirror up to the issues that we face as a country. And it also walks a very fine tightrope between that, between the reality of those issues and also presenting a hopeful outcome to those issues. There's a lot of hope in the show, and there's a lot of tons of joy within it. But it also doesn't shy away from showing the ugliness of uh, the America that we live in. And I think holding those two ideas so closely together is, it's a credit to Terrence and Stephen and Lynn,
Mhm.
that they were able to build a show that walks that tightrope. And it's a credit to this production and these performers that I get to share the stage with, that we don't shy away from either of those ideas. We take joy in the joy, and we really sit and let the tragedy of America shine as well. And it's powerful. It's an amazing thing to sort of take in the audience's um, I mean, all of their emotions. We hear it all. The audience is so close to us. We hear people sobbing. We hear people laughing and erupting with applause. Um, we we get all of it immediately, and it's really a special experience for us on stage.
Yeah. Any, in regard to that, any interesting things said to you at the stage door?
I mean, I get a lot of people saying that they hated me, but
No.
but in a with it's always with a smile.
Oh, like
Like,
we hated you, but we know you're a nice person in life.
yeah, and I mean, and they all seem to recognize that it, like we talked about before, that it's an essential thing within the show. And
Yeah.
I don't take offense to it, certainly. But it is it's people get it. I
Yeah.
think they get it. And when people, there's often like red rimmed eyes outside the stage door when we see people or friends who come back to say hello after the show. There's generally, it's hit them in a very deep way, and it's put them through the ringer for 3 hours. They've felt a lot of things. They've felt elation, and they have felt a deep sadness for the story that they've just witnessed.
Yeah.
And it's made them think about whatever current events and situation that we're all going through. It's made them think about what we're living through and what they can do about it.
I mean, for me, when I have done merch there and I watch the screens, especially the very end when they're like, "This is what happened to us," and it's like, can't, because as soon as Cole House and Sarah come out, start singing, I am going to be crying, and I cannot sell T-shirts with tears in my eyes, so I have to walk away. But can't do it, can't do it. So before we move on, do you have any favorite moment that you get to be a part of or that you get to witness in the show?
Oh, and I've got to pick just one.
Or it could be multiple.
Well, I will say I
Like,
have the best seat in the house
mhm.
to Joshua Henry singing "Make Them Hear You."
Oh my
Nobody
God.
else has a better seat than I do, except for maybe the other men that are on stage with us.
Yeah.
But I'm standing at the front of the stage, looking back up at Josh opening his soul to an audience. I look, we did Violet 10 years ago together at uh for Roundabout Theater Company at the American Airlines. And he's just a special performer.
Yeah.
He's an amazing human being, and a great friend. And he's so, I don't have a lot of words to describe what it's like to be on stage with him, but I will say that we've both said to each other, particularly about the one moment that Father and Colehouse share at the end of the show, uh, that we're so glad that it's each other getting to do this together.
Yeah.
Um, and he's just giving such a open hearted, there's no barrier between him and an audience or other performers on stage with him. He is just an open person who is letting every bit of this through him. Um, and it's not easy for him. I know that. And he's worked extraordinarily hard. And I think all points up to now have probably led to this moment in his career. I mean, he's always amazing. I'm a huge fan of his outside of just being a good friend. Um, but it's just special to watch him perform. And it's equally special to watch him step into this role
Mhm.
uh, that seems to have been made for him.
Yeah. Hence why I was like, he's got to play Cole House one day. It's just, there's really no other person. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of performers, but in my head, I was like, it's Joshua Henry.
Yeah, he's just special, and it's we just had our one of our covers go on for him this past Sunday, and he did an amazing job. And that's what's so special about this whole cast is that, man, it's such a special. awesomely talented group of people that when somebody goes on, not only do they kill it, but they also, and it feels lived in and great. Uh, but we all rally around each other in such a great way to
Yeah.
make sure that that person has the support that they need to get through, really a marathon of a show.
Yeah.
And such and especially in that role. And John Clay the third, who filled in for him on Sunday, was just spectacular. So a special shout out to him and all the understudies and swings that cover all of Broadway, but
Yeah.
especially in our show because we have the best ones. Um,
I'm friends with one of them, and he's like, yeah, I understudy like all the roles except for father and brother. I was like, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Shout out Nick Gasworth. There we go.
yeah. Nick Gasworth is amazing. I love him.
He's
Uh, there's there's a it is an amazingly hard job, and our people just kill it no matter what they're asked to do. They
Mhm.
fill in seamlessly and absolutely crush it. And the audiences that get to see them are very lucky as well.
I mean, Ragtime is a monster of a show, and you guys do an exceptional job with it.
Thank you.
Just with the last few minutes that we have, any aside from, juggling paintbrushes as George and Sunday in the Park, do you have any other dream roles or projects? Also, aside from doing Ragtime, any other dream roles or projects you would like to do?
Oh, I always say that my dream role is probably something that hasn't been written yet. Uh, I love working on new
Hmm.
pieces.
Yeah.
Um, I'm excited eventually to get back to TV and film again after some time back on stage.
Mhm.
Uh, but there's something so exciting to me about discovering a new character that hasn't been done before and really putting my stamp on that. Um, which is funny because I've done a lot of revivals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always think that there's something delightful about bringing some new energy to something that's already been done before. But I love developing new works, um, and working alongside composers and authors, whether it's a play or a musical or a
Mhm.
TV show or a film or whatever. Just really getting into how things work and how they can work better, and what I can give to a piece to elevate it to the next level. That's my as long as I can keep doing that in my career, I'll be very happy.
I feel like you will. Well, I'm again manifesting. We're manifesting it. So again, just really quickly before we end, what are some of your top going theater experiences that you've had, aside from seeing Tommy Tune and Bye Bye Birdie, as you mentioned earlier?
What I'll just talk about recent ones.
Yeah, do it.
I got to see Maybe Happy Ending
Mhm.
with the original cast, and it sort of blew my mind. I had no idea what to expect going in, and I was like, holy moly, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Dead Outlaw, also part of that season, I thought was spectacular. Andrew Durand was in Love's Labor's Lost with us back in the day, and I think he is just a supremely talented dude. Um, Seeing Hamilton downtown at the Public,
Yeah.
feeling like I I I mean that's like collecting a Pokemon card that only a handful of people got to
Yeah.
got to do.
Yeah.
Um and I mean, what else? Yeah, I mean those are the ones that immediately come to mind.
Yeah.
It's just it's I am a oh, seeing Hades Town downtown
Mhm.
before it made the move to Broadway. That
Yeah.
was spectacular as well.
Yeah.
I just I love seeing you're in the business long enough, like chances are if you go see a show, there's going to be a friend in it. And being able I am a consummate fan. Like I love going to see stuff, and I love getting to see my friends shine in what they do. Whether it's Broadway, off Broadway, regional theaters. I got to see Ari and Moya do a play in Chicago while I was living there shooting something. Um, and like, I mean, Arian Moyed, the guy is he's a monster. He's so good.
Yeah.
Also an IU grad. Go Hoosiers. Um, and yeah, it's just I love the fact that I love that you can pop into anything and just have a wonderful experience. Saw Death Becomes Her. I laughed my ass off all
Yeah.
day long. It was so delightful.
Mhm.
Um, God, I could probably just keep going and rattle off all my friends' shows at some point. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am. I'm a fan of theater and I'm a fan of my friends and I
Yeah.
love seeing them like do what they do so brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they feel the same about you. And again, you said you have a front row seat every night to Joshua Henry singing. So,
Yes.
Colin, thank you so much for coming on. It was
Yeah,
a pleasure chatting with you. You're welcome back anytime. If you want to come back, let me know. Please,
perfect.
please. Everyone, go see Ragtime. That's it. Just go see it. You need to see it. Colin's incredible in it. Again, the richness of your voice. It's just I cried so many times watching it. I always encourage people to see it. It's an amazing production. It's perfect for the time. And they also just announced you guys are performing at the Thanksgiving Day Parade. Don't know what
Macy's
you're
Day Parade.
performing. Oh, yes, Macy's Day Parade. Well, it's,
Yeah,
it's the same.
100%.
Yes. And thank you all for listening.